Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another good story told poorly by me. I'm Loomis, and today we are going to talk about dogs. It's this year. It had to be this year. For some crazy, crazy reason, it had to be this year. The toughest year in my history. I'm only 47, I'm going to be 48 this year, but this seems like this might be the toughest year, and I have had some really, really shitty years. This is shaping up to be one of the worst. But, we persevere, we press on, and life is good. But it's this year, and it seems like these kind of things happen in groups. Like one year, everybody gets married, and then, like, the next year, everybody's getting divorced. Or one year, everybody's kids are graduating from high school and they need $200. Or, it's insane how these things kind of go in waves. Like, this is the year you're going to have to go to like 6 weddings, or this is the year where all your friends are moving away, or this is the year where your friend has to fight cancer or something like that. It seems like everybody has the same year together. And sadly, it seems like this year, and I hate saying this, it seems like this is the year where everybody's beloved dog is passing away. Like they just have reached their limit, and they're just moving on. They're moving on to new things, and it's sad. It's hard to watch. I don't think any of us are prepared for it. I am a dog person. I should preface this whole entire story by saying that I'm a dog person. Love dogs. Cats are okay-ish. I think cat people are, just don't want to fully commit to a dog. I think they like the fact that it smells like cat shit in their house, and they're okay with it. Or they're just lazy and they don't want to walk a dog. I don't know, but I'm a dog person. Always have been. I got a dog for Christmas when I was very young. It was a beagle. Named her Skippy. Loved her to death. I was probably a little bit too overwhelmed by a beagle at that age, and so mysteriously the dog disappeared from my life. I'm not sure what happened, but that's growing up in the valley. We just had tons of dogs. We always had dogs. Dogs. I'm going to say easily 24 dogs in a very short amount of time. My favorite dog was Barney, just a big brown dog of indeterminate mongrel blood. My brother had sled dogs, and if you're not familiar with sled dogs, they're not what you might call traditional pets. Sled dogs are just like small little banshees that you really don't want to get close to, because they're starving all the time, and all they want to do is run. They're just, insane, not thinking that's all they want to do. They group together, and they go jogging together, and it's like any normal jogger. They have that insane look in their eye, like they just got one more mile to go. And so we had the sled dogs. I just didn't really know them that well, but I've always, yeah, we were just dog people. And we had cats, but I still prefer the dogs. And I didn't have another pet. After the great shakeup when I ended up in Kansas City, I didn't have another pet for many years. For many, many years. I dated a lot of people who had dogs, and I always liked that. It's fine. I think, I think that was a mistake on my part for not committing to owning a dog earlier. But I always felt like I was just too transitional, and it was probably a bad idea to have one around and then have to drag it, to and fro, and never really know where I'm going to lay my head, so I can't really drag a dog. But in retrospect, that was a big mistake, because dogs don't give a shit. Finally, I had a dog with my last girlfriend. We had a beagle, Pablo, one of the greatest dogs of all time, undisputed. There's facts. It's scientific. Don't try to argue with me. But of course, when I broke up with said girlfriend, she took Pablo. So he's out there keeping her safe from herself, hopefully. And since then, no dogs. And that's, like I said, that's probably my fault. I really have no reason not to own one. Dogs are just wonderful creatures. And this is Dogtown. This is Kansas City. Kansas City, Missouri is like in the heart of Dogtown. Sadly, Missouri has a really bad reputation for the dog farms. the animal mills, the dog puppy mills, that kind of thing. It's a horrible problem here in Missouri, the puppy mills here, and I think there's kind of like a small anxiety that if you get a puppy in this general area, it's probably going to be from one of the puppy mills, and then they're going to be sick or something like that, and it's kind of sad that that's the case, but that's true. There have been some really amazing stories that have come out of Kansas City, or at least this general area, about puppies. One of the most recent was the fact that Michael Vick, the famous football player who was caught having dog fights and had to go to federal prison for it, went to federal prison here. He stayed in Leavenworth for a few years. You dick. And then there's been some famous dogs from this particular area. Not too far down the road in Marshall, Missouri, Jim the Wonder Dog. A name that doesn't resonate very much anymore, but many years ago, Jim the Wonder Dog was, as the name implies, wonderful. The dog was actually brilliant, was intelligent, actually could, I think they said it could predict the future. It could predict like the sex of babies, and it predicted like Kentucky Derby winners, and it could understand different languages when spoken to, and you could actually have you could actually communicate with this dog. It was that smart. And what do you do with a smart dog? Well, you don't let it. I don't know. That's a good question. Anyway, Jim the Wonder Dog is buried in Marshall, Missouri, if you'd like to visit, and that's actually the only dog buried in a human cemetery. And I believe, I know there's a tribute to Jim the Wonder Dog in Marshall. I think in the town hall, or like city center, there's like a dog statue for Jim the Wonder Dog. And they said that the cemetery there in Marshall, that more people go visit the dog than any of the people buried there. And there's a reason for that. Mark Twain, also from Missouri, once said that the more he knows about people, the more he likes his dog. And I think that says a lot. Of course, the big contribution to the world of dogs in Missouri comes from a man named George Graham Vest and a dog named Old Drum. And this took place in Warrensburg, Missouri. Old Drum was a hunting dog who had wandered onto the neighbor's property, and the neighbor had shot him. Now, the owner of Old Drum was pretty upset about this and sued the man for the value of his dog. Old Drum, it seems, was a very good hunting dog and was pretty well known for being a great hunting dog, and so he wanted his money back. And this case actually went to court 4 times. And at one time it'd be defendant, one time plaintiff, and then it just back and forth. Finally, it got to the Missouri Supreme Court. And George Graham Vest was a lawyer, and he was hired by the owner of the dog to represent him. And in his closing arguments about the dog, he said this: "Gentlemen of the jury, the best friend a man has in this world may turn against him and become his enemy. His son or daughter, whom he has reared with loving care, may prove ungrateful. Those who are nearest and dearest to us, those whom we trust with our happiness and our good name, may become traitors to their faith. The money that a man has he may lose. It flies away from him perhaps when he needs it most. A man's reputation may be sacrificed in a moment of ill-considered action. The people who are prone to fall on their knees to do us honor when success is with us may be the first to throw the stones of malice when failure settles its cloud upon our heads. The one absolutely unselfish friend that a man can have in this selfish world, the one that never deserts him, the one that never proves ungrateful or treacherous, is the dog. Gentlemen of the jury, a man's dog stands by him in prosperity and in poverty, in health and sickness. He will sleep on the cold ground when the wintry wind blows and the snow drives fiercely, if only he can be near his master's side. He will kiss the hand that has no food to offer. He will lick the wounds that come encounter with the roughness of the world. He guards the sleep of his pauper master as if he were a prince. When all other friends desert us, he remains. When riches take wings and reputations fall to pieces, he is as constant in his love as the sun in its journey through the heavens. If fortune drives his master forth, an outcast into the world, friendless and homeless, the faithful dog asks no higher privilege than that of accompanying him to guard him against danger, to fight against his enemies. And when the last scene of all comes, and death takes his master in its embrace, and his body is laid in the cold ground, no matter if all friends pursue their way, there by his graveside will the noble dog be found, his head between his paws, and his eyes sad but open in alert watchfulness, faithful and true, even unto death. And he won the case. After the jury heard that, they wasted no time. I think it was 10 minutes that they awarded the victory to Old Drum's owner, and even the man who killed the dog said that it was one of the most powerful things he'd ever heard. And the town agreed, and it's where we get the phrase "man's best friend." It comes from right there. It comes from that speech. And there's a statue dedicated to Old Drum in Warrensburg with the speech in a plaque below the statue. It's in front of the courthouse in Warrensburg, Missouri. And I think there's just, man has always known dogs. We've always they're pack animals like we are. They're I think there's a cave in France where, and back in the 90s, somebody was exploring this cave. This cave, it hadn't been explored in a long time. And they found all these skulls in it and some paintings on the wall. And the thing was that really baffled them was that they found these footprints that were a small boy's. And next to the small boy were dog footprints. And it's the earliest recorded sign that dogs and man had actually been friends. It goes back 25,000 years. And I think that's how long it's been. Dogs have been a part of our life. They've been a part of our structure. And I think they're the best part of what we are. I have so many friends who say, I can't drive by, or I can't go into an animal shelter because I'd adopt them all. I'd adopt every dog. And that's a shame, because those dogs want you to. And you probably should. Because if you have the love for dogs, they've got the love for you. And there's no reason to deny that. They need just as much love as you do. And they have just as much love to give as you do. And I think anybody who's ever owned a dog will tell you that loving a dog and knowing that a dog loves you is pretty damn amazing. I don't know what it is about them, but they certainly calm me down. Just the way they look at you like, you're an idiot, aren't you? Oh, yes, I am. No, they just don't care. They don't care. They don't care what you're wearing. They don't care what you do. And I certainly have appreciated every dog that's ever let me be a part of its life, because you are around for its entire life. And as sad as it is when they leave us, you were their whole existence, and you gave them a beautiful life because you were around the entire time. Imagine if it was on the other foot. You hear about this all the time, where the owner passes away before the dog, and the dog freaks out, and the dog just lays on the grave or sits there next to the chair or doesn't move because it's so used to its beloved owner being there. The dog has no idea what to do with itself, because its life, it doesn't know this. It doesn't like this kind of loss. So I think they do this, maybe there's some kind of cosmic justice. They do this because they know that you can handle something that they can't. So as sad as I am to see people losing their puppies this year, and it's a horrible feeling, and I don't think that there is any amount of solace that you can give someone suffering through it. I would say there's probably a dog sitting somewhere in a shelter right now that if you felt like you needed some comfort, that dog would certainly have plenty to offer you. Anyway, that's today's good story told poorly. See you next time.